What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. It is a beautiful spring day. Finally some agreeable weather. We've had nothing but April showers, which has felt like for the past month. It probably hasn't been that long, but when things are dark and gloomy, they feel way longer than they actually are. So you can see behind me the blue DECH coupe sitting on air, and today's task is actually going to be getting this car buttoned up and ready for its new owner. And a couple things left. So if you haven't watched the last video about where I picked this car up and a couple of the changes that I've already done, including getting rid of those hideous LED taillights, make sure you check that video out. But for today, we're going to be starting on some of the other little finalizations. You can see I actually have the gas door taken off here. That's so that it can go to the paint shop and get scanned. Why? I need some paint so that I can paint the stock hood up for this thing, because the carbon fiber hood is going to be coming off. You can actually see how filthy the car is just from the rain, some of the dust in the air, people driving by. Unfortunately, we don't got pavement here, but all good. So gonna go ahead, get this car inside, and we're gonna swap out that water pump gasket that looked nasty. So somebody like put goo on there. There must have been a leak. So we'll get it in, get that changed up, and probably get started on fixing these rear quarter window moldings. Now, a lot of you guys have asked me, can you do them on the car? Well, this is the opportunity where they're going to get done on the car. I'm not going to take them out in this case. You know, the paint job had masked them off to begin with. So we'll get behind here and get everything masked up and protected. And they're really not that bad. They're not going to need much to come back to life. So going to get that done and check everything over, check out the air, get the car up in the hoist, make sure that everything is installed correctly, nothing's loose, so on and so forth. So stick around. Blue DECH coupe getting done. Alright guys, so if you don't remember the engine bay of this thing, I'm going to show you guys right now what I was talking about in terms of the water pump. Clearly the pump has been changed, but this lovely goo job up here. So we want to make sure that that gets all cleaned up and doesn't leak. Pull off the belt, pull off power steering bracket here. It's actually pretty straightforward because we don't even have a clutch fan to worry about in this case. So it's not like we need to worry about getting the fan shroud off, pulling the clutch fan, you know, the bolts off the water pump pulley here. Once we get this belt off, it's going to be really straightforward. You know, we're obviously going to have to drain all the coolant out of this guy and make sure we can recover all that and not make a mess. So we'll get that all done and make sure that this thing is cooling and has no potential room for leaks here in the future for the new owner. One handy thing about the air ride is I found the preset for tow mode, and you can see the car has jacked itself all the way up. Be super easy to get the hoist arms underneath it now. That is the definition of 4x4 Foxbody. All right, catch pan. broken bolt. Might have been our problem right here. That's why they gooped everything up. Idiots. So what's up, guys? So normally the pump shouldn't come off this way. This is technically the inner side of the water pump, and there's a plate that goes over this. It's normally bolted in with 2 bolts down here. And whoever installed this didn't put those 2 bolts in. So what's happened is the plate is actually stuck on the side of the timing cover. So gonna have to go ahead, pry that off, and we're gonna have to redo both inner and outer water pump gaskets. We'll make sure we get our bolts in here accordingly, and from there we shouldn't have to worry about any leaking issues. So show you guys what I mean. You can see how this is all solid, the plates here. So gonna go ahead and pry this plate off, and then we'll redo both gaskets, and then everything should be good to go. All right, here's our plate. Touching any of it.
So was it leaking there?
Well, it was all fucking gooped with fucking goo. Like, the guy that I got it from said it was leaking. Got it gooed up just to stop it. So I don't want to sell it that way.
That is some shitty fucking work right there.
Well, look too, they didn't even, like, they didn't bolt this plate to the water pump. You know how it has those 2 bolts at the bottom? Wasn't even bolted on.
Do you have another timing cover?
I do, but can you imagine if you're down with an oil pan taking the balancer off?
Well, that's what I would do. I'd put a fucking nut on it. Hopefully you penetrate into that.
Like, and put a nut there and try and weld
like that
it
right there is steel. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So put a nut around it, weld in the center.
Yeah.
Hopefully the heat, and you can get, and it'll come out. That's your best option right now. It saved you a lot of time.
There we go. Dale saved a lot of time. There was no drilling it out. It looked like somebody already attempted that and started butchering into the timing cover from either side. So managed to build up a little bit of material on what was left of the bolt with some weld. Got that nut on there, and there we go.
Spreeza.
Success.
No, run a chase through that. Clean her up. Dump some oil in the chase and
so you can see, you used a Scotch-Brite pad here and managed to clean the whole surface. Make sure you get all the old gasket material, goo, all that type of stuff off of the mating surface first. It comes in, it's just like painting, it's all in the prep, and we're gonna make sure that this guy gets all cleaned up as well. Lots of gasket remnants stuck to this guy, so we'll get that all scraped off, cleaned up, and the back side of the water pump as well. So we get those all clean, get our new gaskets. I'm gonna run a chase through all these threads, make sure that everything is good here. It's a little bit of maybe a piece of weld or something there, so I'll sand that down, just make sure everything is smooth. And we're lucky, didn't have to take the timing cover off. Nice and clean, ready. So we'll even get wiped down again, brake clean, make sure everything is super clean and dry. I do tend to still slick a small little bit of gasket maker around the edges to follow the contours of the gaskets, just to make extra sure. There's nothing more aggravating than overheating or leaks from your water pump. So it's not going to be a goop job like was on here before, and we're going to have all of our bolts holding the pump on the way that it should have been in the first place. So I just ordered our inner gasket, already have an outer one. So we'll get all that reassembled and good to go. So now we're going to clean out these threads. So just going to run this guy through here. Even though we managed to thread it out, it's just important because there definitely would have been a little bit of damage to the threads at the beginning of the opening here. Beauty. So now that we got the threads cleaned out, I got another good grade bolt here, which I'm not sure what they used before, but this wasn't a proper water pump bolt to begin with. It was probably just a standard one. Could have been the wrong threads and they tried to jam it in there. Who knows? So I'm gonna have this replacement one with the washer on there. Unfortunately, I don't have an actual water pump style. I've actually gone through and run all of the bolts for the pump through the wire wheel, got them all cleaned up. So everything should be good to go there. Just waiting for the new gasket to show up, and we should be in good shape to go ahead and get this guy buttoned up. And other than that little bit of a bolt issue, it's really not that hard. And same process if you have AC, you just have to take a little bit more off with the AC bracket. The pump will actually stay, or the compressor will still stay in place. The bracket will just kind of slide off forward. Same thing, power steering pump will drop down. But yeah, it's really not a hard job, guys. So if you see something odd going on, with your water pump or any component, it could be, lower intake, or maybe your oil pan, or any of those things, it's probably suspect because there's a reason behind it. And here we found the reason why all that gasket goo was on here. And silicone was because there was a snap bolt, so they were trying to cover everything up and try and seal it without actually fixing the issue properly. So that's it for the pump. I'm actually going to put this car up in the air now and have a quick look underneath. So this is actually my first look at the underside of this car. We can see we're a little oily here. Could be the rear main leaking. We do need to swap out this starter. It's getting heat soaked from the long tubes, and there are troubles starting this car after it's been running and getting warm. So we can see we have a BBK X pipe here. Looks like they cut out the caps and welded in some material. And we got a set of MagnaFlow mufflers and brand new aluminum drive shaft. Can't complain about that. So new owner should be happy. That's a nice little find here. You can see our rear bag setup right here, and Ride Tech shocks made by Fox. And the car actually still has the quad shocks hidden up in there. Super clean car underneath. A little oily, but that's no big deal. Keeps the rust away. Got full length subframe connectors. Look in the front here, you can see the bags. So just in case you guys are curious, so the Ride Tech Air Ride setup with the bags is no longer available. They've actually discontinued this setup. So now what they have is airbag over strut, so sort of like a coilover setup. So the bag is actually on the top side of your strut instead of being here. So my concern about it is that the bag is sitting up top, so I don't know how much wheel clearance you would have in that case, because you can already see here how close that wheel is to the housing of the struts. And I'm actually curious to know what kind of struts are in this car. It almost looks like they might have been designed for a coilover setup before. You see the inner fender up there. Someone was riding low and burnt through the inner fender a bit. Not totally surprised about that. Joys of riding low. This side is okay. So there we have it, guys. Quick little peek on the underside of the car. A little bit of knowledge on the Ride Tech stuff. All right, guys, got some brake clean here. All our surfaces have been cleaned, so they are nice. And most importantly, we got our new gaskets. This one I had laying around from before, so this is the outside one that goes against the timing cover. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. And this is the one that just came in, which is the guy that goes with this plate. Skim coat of gasket maker on there. I just choose to do it to make extra sure there's no possibility for any blowouts or any leaks. That, and it also helps hold your gasket in place. There we go. So this wasn't done in the first place. Now it's been done. And gonna go ahead now and prep our final gasket. You can see how the gasket actually has got these two cutouts to go around where these two bolts are. So what I'm going to do is prep the surface of the timing cover, and I'm just going to run the bead around this guy, stick it on here, same thing, sandwich. All right guys, there we go. Everything's all buttoned back up. One thing that I noticed is there's a couple cracks on that belt. So, gonna order up a new belt, make sure that that's not a potential liability. Nothing worse than just something so stupid leaving you stranded on the side of the road. So, new belt will come. Everything went back together super smooth. Gonna go ahead and fill our radiator back up. I'll leave the rad cap off. And we'll get it outside and make sure that the car comes up to temperature once it looks like the thermostat opens up, burp any of the air out of the system, and should be good to go. So, moved on along and got these quarter windows all prepped out. Use same materials as I always do. So if you guys are curious to know on how I restore your quarter window moldings, make sure you check out my other video. I'll put the little link floaty thing on the top of the screen there, so you guys can click on that if you're interested and check it out. So this will answer any questions before about can you do or restore them while they're still on the car. Yes, you can. You just have to have mad masking skills and have a little bit more patience and a little bit more OCD, because you don't want to get any overspray or dust and everything else in on your nice ride. So here we go. Everything's been prepped out. Gonna prime them up, paint them up, and that'll pretty much conclude everything on the exterior except for that hood. So I'm just waiting for my Viper Blue paint to show up. There was a little bit of a miscommunication or misunderstanding about the color and the codes when they were scanning the gas door, but anyways, we're gonna get it sorted out and get these moldings and this car looking like new again. So this guy is all primed up. Just need to give it a final scuff down, and then that will be ready for paint. And I moved over to the driver's side, started working on this one. This one's actually pretty much all sanded down already and almost ready for paint. So that's gonna pretty much conclude today's video, because it's the end of the day and I wanna get this home and edit it up. And it'll be some really good, I guess, information for those, mostly regarding that water pump and trying to get that bolt out and getting gaskets reinstalled to make sure that there's no more leaks. So that is it. We'll get this guy all buttoned up. We'll get that hood painted. Need to get that starter changed so it doesn't suffer from the heat soak, and probably do one last hoorah video on the car before the new buyer picks it up, or maybe it'll just be a video of the buyer picking it up. And that'll be that. So stay tuned for that one. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. Really good weather up here now, and hopefully it's good weather and everyone is well wherever you guys are at. So we'll see you guys next time. I'm out.